Okay, still on quadratic question or quadratic equation. We've talked about factorization method. We've talked about formula method, which is almighty formula. Now we want to talk about completing the square method. Usually students find this completing the square method difficult, and that is why examinations like WAEC, NECO, and others we like to ask students to solve quadratic questions using completing the square method, especially the theoretical parts, you know. So it is very easy. We have some steps we do follow when using completing the square method. You just need to memorize these steps and that's it. So let's look at the question and let's see the steps to follow. Okay, the question is x squared plus 2x minus 3. X squared plus 2x minus 3. Let me equate the question to 0. If you remember that our general quadratic equation is equated to 0. So equating it to 0, following my completing the square method, the first thing you need to do is to take your constant to the other side. Don't forget, constant is the number without x alphabet. So I have x squared plus 2x equals 0. I don't want to bother 0. When this moves to the other side, it becomes 0 plus 3. So instead of showing that, let me just write 3, because negative to the other side will become positive 3. Now, the next rule says you should divide by the coefficient of your x squared. Divide by the coefficient of your x squared, and the coefficient of my x squared here is 1. I'm still going to arrive at the same equation because I am working with 1. But some questions in your x squared, you might have 2, 3, 4, 5, as the case may be. So you divide it. So for the purpose of those that might not still remember, let me show it. I know my coefficient here is 1. When I divide both sides by 1, x squared divided by 1 will still give me x squared, plus 2x divided by 1 will still give me 2x, 3 divided by 1 will give me 3. I will still arrive at the same answer because my coefficient is 1. Take note. But if my coefficient is 2, you will not have something like this. Then the next rule to follow is your x term. Please take note. X term, not x squared term. Your x term. Looking at it, you take half of this part and you square it. Half of this part and square it. Half in mathematics is written as this. So half of the coefficient is 2, then you square it. Half of the coefficient and you square it. So at the end of the day, 2 standing alone is the same as 2 over 1. 1 times 2 will give me 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Then you have it as what? Square. 2 divided by 2 is what? 1. You have 1 square. 1 square is still the same thing as 1 because 1 times 1 will give me 1. So what you have gotten here, you add it to your equation, to the both sides. So I have x squared plus 2x plus, let me pick this 1 square because I have something carrying square here. So let me pick this. I have plus 1 square equals to 3 plus, I can also write 1 square, but I already know that 1 square will give me 1. So 3 plus 1. I purposely left this as 1 square because I'll be needing it for this x square. They will both carry square. I did not simplify it further. So in your question also, don't simplify further. Leave it as the square form that it's coming with. So the next thing you need to do, usually this x term part, we ignore it. The x term and the coefficient, we ignore it, but retain the sign. How do I mean? So ignoring this, I will say x squared. The sign here is what? Plus sign. Then I'll have what? 1 squared. If this sign here were to be negative, that is minus, That is what I'll bring down. Minus, then I'll write my what? 1 square. But because it is plus, it is easier to leave like this. So 3 plus 1 will give me 4. Now, I can factorize these people together. Factorizing it together, I will have x plus 1 all carrying square because they have square in common. So x plus 1 all square equals to 4. Now I'm looking for x. So what can I do to find x? What is opposite of square? It is square root. So square root both sides. Square root both sides. So how we have x plus 1 all squared, then you square root it, equals square root of 4. Are we together? This we cancel this. So I have x plus 1 equals plus or minus 2. In square roots, we do have plus or minus in front of some roots, especially if when you have your roots in even number. What do I mean by even? Square root is looking for two numbers multiplying itself. When you have 4 roots, you also have plus or minus. If you have 6 roots, you have plus or minus. Why? Because if you say ordinary 2 is your answer, neglecting -2, the negative will also give us 4. -2 times -2 will give us 4. +2 times +2 will also give us what? 4. So when you are solving questions like this, always put plus or minus. If you had not put your negative sign, then you are telling us that -2 times -2 will not give us 4. So in questions like this, you need it to be shown. So plus or minus 2. Now let's collect like terms. Collecting like terms, I will have x equals, take this to the other side, will become -1 plus or minus 2. Now let's solve it separately. So x equals to -1 plus 2 or -1 minus 2. So x equals to -1 plus 2 will give me 1, or -1 minus 2 will give me -3, and that's our final answer. If you remember what we are coming with, you will remember that 1 or -3 had been our answer previously, and that is what we are still arriving at. So this is to show that whichever method you still arrive at the same answer. Thank you.